It all started with the bread basket. We were sitting in this so-called rustic Italian place upstate. The kind of restaurant that likes to pretend it's laid back while everything about it screams curated exclusivity. The air smelled faintly of old money, of reservations planned weeks in advance, of people who thought casual meant wearing loafers without socks. Menus without prices, just italicized ingredients and a silent dare to ask how much. Rachel had picked the place for her father's birthday. Her father, who never wore a shirt without his initials stitched somewhere visible, who carried himself like someone who had only ever known corner offices and private golf courses. That night, there were 6 of us. Me and Rachel, her parents, her brother Doug, and Doug's wife Claire. They fit the scene perfectly polished, perfectly at ease. And then there was me. I run a small custom furniture company. Nothing flashy. I design, source, and build everything myself out of a warehouse in the city. With steel sweat, it's honest work. Not glamorous, but mine. I had always thought that mattered. Doug had just wrapped up a story about his latest real estate deal in Brooklyn, some half-baked glory about exposed brick and 6-figure returns. I kept my face polite, chewing bread that tasted like money. That's when Rachel leaned toward her dad, wine glass in hand, and let it slip. "Oh, don't worry, Dad. If the market tanks, Jake can always sell a few more stools to cover dinner." She laughed light, airy, practiced. Like it was all harmless, like I was part of the joke. Doug chuckled. Claire smirked behind her napkin. Her father laughed louder than he needed to, the kind of laugh that doubles as a shrug of relief. Better me than him. I froze mid-bite, fingers gripping crust like it might splinter. Rachel didn't glance my way. She didn't need to. The way she exhaled after, shoulders loose, told me she'd rehearsed this line before. I forced myself to play along. "People always need somewhere to sit," I said, smiling thinly. A few polite laughs followed, but the taste in my mouth had already soured. It didn't feel like wit, it felt like surrender. Like I was signing my name under her punchline. The conversation flowed past me. Vacation homes, investments, Pilates. I stayed stuck on that moment, like a pin holding me to the corkboard of her family's amusement. I noticed things I hadn't let myself notice before. The way Rachel's brother ordered for Claire as if she were a child. The way her father snapped boy at the waiter, though the man was pushing 30. The little empire of dismissals I'd married into. The name of the restaurant was etched into the leather menu. Luciano's, family-owned. Proudly established in 1986. I remembered coming here once with Rachel back when we were dating. She'd been different then, softer, warmer. She used to talk about opening a bakery, about flour on her hands, and the joy of feeding people. Now she lived in press releases and phone screens. After dessert, a lavender panna cotta that tasted like soap. I excused myself, pretending to head for the restroom. I didn't. The hallway smelled of garlic and grease. I trailed a server carrying plates until I found an office door open. A tired man in his 50s was hunched over papers, muttering into the phone in half English, half Italian. When he hung up, I stepped in. "Sorry to interrupt," I said. "You the owner?" He looked up, narrowed his eyes. "Why?" I smiled. "Because I want to talk business." By the time Rachel and I drove home that night, her face was lit by the glow of Instagram, humming to herself like nothing had happened. I drove in silence, watching the stranger beside me scroll, wondering when she'd stopped being the woman I thought I knew. A week later, I met the man again, Marco, Naples born, here since 1984. He looked at my business card like it was written in code. "You build chairs?" he asked. "Among other things," I said. "I also know how to run a business without treating people like garbage." That earned me a laugh, real and heavy, the kind that seemed to clear the dust from his chest. The deal dragged on for weeks, but eventually, the papers were signed. Marco wanted out, and I was there with the will to take it on. It wasn't about the food. It was about the place, the memory, the night I'd been reduced to a joke. When the ink dried, I sat in a booth alone, ordered the bread basket, and ate slowly. It still tasted arrogant, but this time I smiled. It wasn't revenge, it was balance. A reclamation. Planting my flag in the very soil where they thought they'd buried me. Rachel didn't know. Not then. Maybe I was keeping it from her deliberately, maybe not. But I wasn't ready to tell her. Not when she couldn't even introduce my business without mocking it. To her friends, I was always still doing his little projects. As if I were gluing Lego instead of building hardwood tables for luxury apartments and hotels. So I waited. Sometimes I'd drive past Luciano's on a Thursday night, park across the street, and just watch the light spilling from the windows. The sign still read established 1986. But the documents in my lawyer's drawer told a different story. Property of Jake Ellison. I hadn't changed much at first. No major renovations, no big reveals. I asked Marco to stay on a while, keep the staff steady, let the place breathe. They deserved that. Months passed and the time came again. Rachel's father's birthday. Same season, same breeze. Over coffee one morning, Rachel suggested it casually. Should we just go back to Luciano's? It was nice last year. I sipped my coffee, nodded. Sure. Sounds good. She didn't look up from her phone, but she smiled. You'll want to budget for it though, babe. Doubt you've sold enough bar stools to cover the bill. She laughed at her own joke. I didn't. I just drank my coffee, silent, letting her words pass like a cloud shadow over the ground. Timing. That was everything. That Saturday we pulled up to Luciano's in her father's Range Rover. Of course he'd offered to drive. Rachel wore emerald green. And I was ready. The place was packed, noisy, polished to the point of showing off. Rachel walked in ahead of me, waving to the host with the air of someone who thought she belonged everywhere. The funny thing was this time I did. Doug and Claire were already settled, glasses in hand, napkins draped neatly. Behind them, Rachel's parents trailed in with the same practiced ease of people used to every door swinging open for them. They all slid into the booth like they owned it. Rachel's father shot me a grin. Nice touch, Rach. She lit up like she'd orchestrated the whole thing. Then the waiter appeared. Tomas. Young, attentive, sharp. I remembered his name, and so did he. He glanced at me, paused a beat and smiled. Good to see you again, he said. We've got the specials ready. The chef asked me to tell you. Thanks again for everything, boss. Rachel froze, her glass of wine stuck midair. Doug leaned forward. Boss. Claire gave a little laugh that came out awkward and thin. Wait, did he mean? Tomas kept smiling. Yes, Mr. Ellison. He's the new owner. Been working with us behind the scenes. The kitchen hasn't been this happy in years. The sound in the room seemed to drop out, except for the distant piano and the clatter of someone else's fork. Rachel stared at me, mouth parted but silent. She began. I stayed calm. I bought it a couple months back. Her father blinked. The whole thing. The whole thing, I said, unfolding my napkin. Well, technically the land, the brand, the rights to the menu. But yeah, all of it. Doug's fork slipped onto his plate. Claire looked like her glass of rose had soured. Rachel finally managed to get words out. Why wouldn't you tell me? I didn't gloat, didn't smirk. I just met her eyes and said, I thought it was just another one of my little projects. Tomas, with perfect timing, chimed in again. Would you like the wine list, sir? Please, I answered, and he slipped away. Rachel's voice came out softer now, unsure. You seriously bought this place just because of what I said? I leaned in. No. I bought it because I believed in it. Same reason I built my company. Same reason I wake before dawn, hauling oak beams, sanding until my fingers ache. Because I believe in making things last. But I let the pause sit there. I'll admit, being mocked in this booth for doing what I love. That stuck with me. Sometimes when something leaves a mark, you either let it fade or you carve something better over it. Her father cleared his throat, searching for footing. Well, that's impressive, son. Didn't know you had it in you. I know, I said. Most people don't, until it's finished. Dinner carried on, but the tone had shifted. The food came out smoother, the wine richer, but the laughter was thinner, careful. Rachel kept stealing looks at me, like I was someone she hadn't quite met before. The ride home was silent. She stared out the window, her reflection breaking into fragments with each passing streetlight. Twice she started to speak, then stopped. When we walked through the door, she went straight to the kitchen, opened a bottle of wine, and poured herself a glass without offering me one. You planned that, she said finally, not looking up. The waiter, the timing, all of it. You wanted to humiliate me. I shook my head. No. I just stopped protecting your version of me. That made her look at me, really look. For a moment her eyes searched, like maybe the man standing there wasn't the one she'd grown so comfortable dismissing. Last year at your dad's birthday, I said. You laughed at me in front of everyone. Your family, your brother, your father. You made me small. And you never once apologized. You just kept doing it, jokes, digs, reminders that I wasn't enough. She set her glass down hard. I didn't mean it like that. It was teasing. No, I said. It was subtraction. Cutting me down so you could stand taller. Her voice wavered. You think I don't believe in you? I didn't answer her. Instead, I crossed the room, picked up an envelope from the side table, and handed it over. She opened it slowly, scanning the bold header. Design and Function Quarterly. A feature spread about me, my company, my work. The magazine had reached out after a boutique hotel in Seattle ordered one of our tables. It's a big deal in the custom design world, I said simply. She stared at the pages like they were written in another language. Like my success without her spotlight didn't compute. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered, more to herself than me. Felt like you weren't listening, I said. She sank onto the couch, shoulders heavy, suddenly smaller than I'd ever seen her. The woman who laughed loud and wore emerald dresses now looked like someone trying to remember who she was. At the doorway, I paused. Rachel, I didn't buy that restaurant to prove anything to you. I bought it to prove something to myself. That I can take up space. That I can own it, literally, if I have to. She didn't reply, just stared at the magazine in her lap. A week later, she packed a bag and moved in with her sister, said she needed space. I didn't fight it. I didn't chase. I just kept working. Orders stacked up. The warehouse thrummed. A cafe in Oregon wanted 10 tables before winter. A gallery asked if I'd show a collection made from salvaged stormwood. I said yes. People saw me now. Not as Rachel's husband. Not as a man who got lucky. But as a builder, a maker of things that would outlast both of us. I don't know where Rachel and I stand. Maybe we'll find our way back. Maybe not. But I know this. I'll never shrink again just to keep someone else comfortable. That dinner didn't wreck me. It clarified me. And buying the restaurant? That wasn't revenge. It was my way of saying I won't be written out of my own story.